Hi everyone. In this webinar, we'll be handling the core modules of Fedena. You can see the list of modules that we'll be seeing in today's session on my screen. So these are the modules that we'll be covering in the core modules webinar. Now let me log in as an admin into my instance, and once I've logged in, the first thing that we're going to see is the settings, the basic settings. And before I go ahead with the basic settings, the first thing that I'll see is the general settings. So let me begin as a first time user. Let me log in by going for administration, settings, and the general settings. So inside the general setting, we are going to do some basic information. So here we are doing the settings that includes the in basic information about the institution to be shared here with Fedena. So here I'm giving the information about the name of the institution, address, phone number, email ID, website. So these are some information that I'm going to share with Fedena. So I'm giving in these information. So these informations would be utilized to take it forward in certain places where these informations will be applied. So you can see it in the report, you can see it in the finance receipts. So these places, these receipts will have these detail about the institution. And the next thing that we have is the institution type, and in the institution type we have a drop down where we can see two types of institutions. So that's K-12 and higher education. K-12 is nothing but kindergarten to class 12, and higher education is for institutes, colleges and universities. You can choose the right one that is suitable for your institution type and you can save them. Below you find the next thing that you have is student attendance type. We provide you with two options, daily and subject wise. Based on the attendance type that is there in the institution, you can choose an attendance type. The next question is about the start date of the week. By default, the start date of the week is Monday, and you can switch between any other days. You can select any other day in case if your start date of the week is a different one. The next one is the date format. The date format by default is date, month and year. And in case if you have a different format or if you're utilizing a different format, you can select one from the drop down. The date separator by default is slash, and we are also providing you with hyphen. You can choose among any one of these. Here you're going to mention the financial year start date and financial year end date. And the next one is the receipt number. So for any financial transaction in Fedena, you're going to generate a receipt, and this receipt is going to have a receipt number. So this receipt number can be customized based on the institution. Let's say for my institution, I'm giving the receipt number to have a prefix, and this prefix is created right here. So I'm going to give this 5-letter prefix and I'm going to save it. So anytime a receipt is generated, the receipt number is going to utilize this prefix and it's going to create a receipt. The next one that we have is language, time zone, country, currency type and precision count. So you can select the option that you want based on the location of the institution and the language that you want to utilize and the currency. The next option is to upload a logo. So here we are mentioning the size, the maximum size that you need to make sure, and the dimensions. The next option that is there is the grading system. So we provide you with various grading systems like GPA, CWA, CC and ICSE. Apart from this, we also have a normal examination pattern. Based on your grading system, you can choose one among this and move forward. The next one is enable auto incrementation of student admission number, enable auto incrementation of employee admission number. Both the option works for auto incrementation of the admission numbers. When you make an admission for the first time, you're going to enter the admission number like how you want, with the prefix followed by the number. And for every other admissions that you make, for every subsequent admissions that you make, The admission number is going to be automatically incremented. Based on your previous entry, the next admission number is going to be created. So this happens for student admission and employee admission. The next thing that we have is news comment moderation. We have a news module where we can moderate the comments. So you can enable this option to be active for the users. We have an option called enable sibling settings. So you can add your siblings detail to your institution. So in the profile of the student, you can add the sibling details as well. That would avoid you to enter twice the parent detail and provide a parent profile twice. So one parent profile will be there in Fedena for both the children, and one parent profile and their information would be active in both the profiles. You have an option called enable password changes the first time login, which allows your users to change their password when they log in for the first time. Now, as you can see this point here, you can just enable it. And if you don't want this to be active in your instance, you can just disable them. The final option under general setting is enable roll numbers for students. You can enable roll numbers for students. So apart from the admission number that we're going to generate, roll numbers are also active, and these roll numbers can be utilized inside a class, and you can generate it automatically or manually enter it. So for both these options to be active, we need to enable this. And right now we are done with the general setting. Once this is done, you need to save this. And once you've saved, can come back to the settings, and we will cover the other settings that is left out. Let's begin with manage classes and batches. So here is where you're going to create the classes and batches that you want to create in your institution. Let me give you some example by creating one. I'm going to create a class right now. So let me say I have a school and I'm going to create a class. I can go for manage class, and here I can go for the new one. Before I go for the new one, you can see a list of classes that is there in my screen. So this is something that I've already created. Based on my previous entries, based on the ones that I have already created, you get to see a list of classes and courses. So this is how it will show when you create. So you need to make sure that you're going to create it like this. So now let me show you one example by going for the option new. I'm going to create with a name, let's say grade. So I'm going to create with the name grade 2, and I'm giving a code. So let me give a code. So this code would be the one that would be seen in most cases, and looking at this code, the users have to recognize this is the grade 1. So it has to be a unique code, and below I have the option to select the grading system type. So I have the option to choose. In case if I have enabled one of the grading system, I'll be able to see the normal one along with that grading system. Since I have enabled GPA along with it, I'm able to see GPA and normal. I'm going to select one. And we have an option called enable elective selection. In case if you're providing electives for the students and you want the students to enable their own elective subjects, they need to choose their own elective subjects, then you can enable this option. This would allow the users to log into their own instance and choose the elective subjects that they want to study. And you have the batch details below. You're going to enter the name of the batch. Let's say this is the batch detail, and I'm giving a start date and end date, and I'm going to save this. And once I have created the class successfully, I can, let's say I'm going to see the class where it is. So this is the class. Let me choose it. And inside which you can see the batch that I created and the code along with it. Now you can see how the class and how the batch is created. You can create one more batch by going for the option new, where you can enter the name of the batch, select start date and end date. You can import the previous batch subject and previous batch master fee by enabling this. So if you've already created a set of subjects and a master fee, you can just enable this. That means all those subjects and master fee will be imported here as well. And now you can say it. Let's say I'm going to save this, and let's move back to the settings. And once this is done, let's move to the next one, manage student category. Under student category, you're going to list the various kind of category that is there in your institution. So here, you're going to mention just the name of the category and save it. So that is mean that you're going to list all the categories that is there in your institution. Just like how I've created. So by creating these categories, you can assign the students later into these categories when you create student admission or when you make a student admission in Fedena. Moving to the next one, that manage subjects. Here you're going to select the class. So I'm going to select the class that I created. And on selecting the class, I'm going to select a batch. And now I'm going to create subjects. So I'm going to create subjects by going for add subject. I'm going to enter the name of the subject and a code. And here you're going to mention the maximum weekly classes. This maximum weekly classes is a reminder while you do your timetable module. When you're creating timetable, you need to make sure that you're not exceeding the limit that is provided here. So the number that I'm giving here would be acting as a one notification in case if I'm exceeding the number. And once this is done, I can save it. And you also have an option where you can make this subject as no examination. If you're creating a subject and you know that a subject doesn't have an examination, you can enable this option. That means this subject is not going to be part of the examination module. Now you can save it. You can once again create few more by adding subjects and giving a name here. And provide with a maximum weekly class and save it. So now this is how you're going to create the major subjects. Now the next thing that you have is elective groups. You can create elective group by going for new elective group, provide an elective group name and save. So inside this elective group, you can create as many elective subjects as you want. You can go for add. You can enter the subjects here. Let me enter a few subject names. Let's say I'm going to provide this option for the students where they can learn some languages as an elective. So this is how you're going to create these elective subjects, and once you've created normal and elective subjects, when it comes to elective subjects, you can assign students. So you can directly assign students from here, or you can ask the students to register for each of these elective subjects. Now we're done with this manage subjects. The next thing that we have is add admission additional details. So when it comes to admission for students, there are some details that you might find missing in the admission form of Fedena. So you might need to create few more fields that is not there in Fedena. For that purpose, we have an additional detail. So where you're going to create these additional details with a field. So I'm creating one by giving a name here. The field name can be mentioned here. And for the input method, you're going to select one from the input method. So your input method can be a set of text, or it can be a paragraph or of sentences, or it can be any one of the options that is there, or it can be from your drop down. So based on your input method that you want, you can choose one from here. And you can also make the field mandatory. And just like how I have created, let's say I have created one field called medical checkup, and I want to know all the users who's going to enter the data has completed the medical checkup or not. So all the students who get admitted in Fedena is going to know about the medical checkup. So we are going to track it down by creating this field and making it mandatory. So every profile will come across this stage where they fill in this mandatory field and you save it. The same way, you're going to create various other active fields. So Fedena allows you to create any kinds of active fields and you can create them. And once this is done, the next thing is the SMS module. Under SMS module, we have the option to perform some SMS settings. So here you can see there are various options for which SMS send can be triggered automatically. So you can see the student admission, exam schedule, result publishing, and attendance, event, fee submission. And apart from that, I also have the option to send SMS to parents, students and employee. Here you can see the option to send SMS to students, batches of students, employee, department employee, to all the users, and I can also have a look at the log. So here you have a varied option about handling the SMS in Fedena. The next thing that we have under settings is manage student roll number. So as I mentioned, roll numbers are nothing but a set of numbers inside a particular batch. For all the students, there's going to be a number that is being assigned. So this is going to vary depending on the batches. And each batch is going to have a set of roll numbers, and this roll number is going to be sorted on based on any particular category. Now you can create roll numbers, you can assign roll numbers in a way automatically or manually enter it in the student admission form. Let me see how we can do it automatically. So here you can see this is how you can need to set the prefix. So for all the batches I have to set the prefix. Let's say for a few batches, let me call this batch. I'm going to set a prefix for this batch. I'm going to set roll number prefix by just entering a prefix here. So my students in this class is going to have a particular prefix. So their roll number is going to have this region followed by the number. So I'm going to save this prefix. So that means the prefix is being set. Now you can see the set roll number prefix format. Now you can view the batch. So there's one batch and you can see the roll number is not set. Where you can set roll number. And inside there are two students and both the students' name are alphabetically arranged and the roll numbers have been set. All that I need to do is have a look at it, verify it once again and save it. As you can see, the prefix followed by 01, prefix followed by 02 is the format that has been done here. So I'm going to save this. And before I save, now the question is how did it alphabetically arrange? So what concept does it work on? You can see under manage student roll numbers, you have the option to sort the student's name. I have chosen first name. So the first name was a concept and alphabetical order worked on. You can go ahead and do the other ones as well and save it. That's all about the settings that we have. Let's go for the HR module. We can find the HR module under administration. And under HR, the first setting that we have is HR settings. And inside the HR settings, we have various types of settings. It begins with the employee category. So under the employee category is where you're going to mention the different types of category that can be there in the institution. This category includes the different types of employee category. So all that you need to do is mention the name of a category and provide a prefix for this. So later while you admit employees into this category, you're going to need this category. So it's better we provide with a name and a prefix. So as you can see below, these are categories that I've created. When you start using Fedena, it's going to be completely empty and you will have to create these categories here. So I had created categories like these with the name finance, let's say, and I'm saying this category is a part of my institution. So the employees are part of this category and they're called finance category employees with a prefix. So looking at the prefix, I should be knowing this is the category employee and I'm going to save it. So now once the category is created, I'm moving back to the setting. I'm going to employee position. Under the employee positions, I'm going to create the various employee positions that is there in my institution. You need to make sure that this positions something that is there under the category. Let's say I'm choosing one of the category, finance category. Under the finance category from my drop down, I'm going to create various positions by giving a name there. So that means these positions are a part of the finance category. Under this employee category, there can be various positions. You can list all this because you're going to assign this position to one of the employees. Now this way I've created various positions and once this is done, you can move to employee department. So Fedena has to know the different departments that is there in your institution. So you will have to give the name of the department and the department code. So I have listed a set of departments that is there in my institution, and I'm going to save them. The next one that we have is employee grade. Under the employee grade, we have the option to create grades for various employees. So here you can see the name, priority, and maximum periods per day and maximum periods per week. So this is just an example of how you can provide a grade for your employee, or how you can prioritize an employee. So here I've prioritized my employees and I've given a grade 1 which has high priority, and I'm saying the maximum periods per day and maximum periods per week are to be lifted here, and I'm just entering it here. So I'm just saying the priority 1 employees are going to do a maximum periods of 2 per day and a maximum periods of 6 per week. So this is the target that I've given them. The same way I've created various employee grades, and each of these grades have a maximum periods per day and maximum periods per week. The next thing that we have is the working day setting. Under working day setting, you're going to list the number of working days. So this number of working days is going to be considered for calculating the loss of pay. And in case if you're utilizing any one of these, you can go for monthly, you can go for weekly, you can go for bi-weekly, and you can go for semi-monthly. And you can use any of these. So you're going to mention the number of days. So out of all these, of course, you're going to use only one, or let's say two of the option. One category of employees might have a weekly salary creation, or bi-weekly or semi-monthly. The other have monthly. So you need to enter the number of days you consider for all these options, and you're going to save it. It's a mandatory that you need to enter all these. And moving back, you have the leaf types. So here is where you're going to create the different types of leaf types. You're going to go for leaf types option and create the leaf types by giving a name for your leaf type, a code, and the count. And you're going to say if there is a leaf balance, are you going to discard these leaves or allow this to be carry forward? You can enable the option that you want, and you can have these options as a way of carry forwarding your leave to the next duration. Now, when you carry forward the leave, the next question is, do you carry forward all the days or only specific days? Now you can once again answer this question, and you have something called additional leaves. Additional leaves are nothing but the leaves that you claim when your leaves are completed. So when your fixed leaves are completed, the number of leaves that you claim to take are the additional leaves. And these leaves can be called as loss of pay. So there's going to be a salary reduction, and there's no loss of pay. So below you have both these options, and you can choose one among them and save it. So I've created various such leave types, and you can see the names and their codes. The next one that we have is bank details. Bank details allow us to create some fields that might be required to fill in the bank details. So this is going to be part of the employee admission form, and any field that you've created here will be a part of your employee admission form. The next thing that you have is additional details. So under additional details, you're going to create the additional fields that are required for the employees. So as you can see, I've created a few additional fields that is required for these employees, and each of these additional fields have their own input method. So here you can see this additional field, and depending on the input method, the nature of the input, I'm giving the input method to be text area. The same way I can give text box, and by going for the few other fields, I'm giving the input area to be text box. I'm going to save this. So that's all about the settings. Moving back to the settings, let's go ahead and complete the payroll and payslip management before we begin with the employee admission. So I'm going for payroll and payslip management. And the first thing that you find is payroll categories. So here we need to do some basic category creation. So this and the next point would be something that we'll do before the employee admission. And once that's done, we can go ahead with the employee admission process. So here you can see you have the option to create earnings and deductions, which is the payroll categories. You need to create these payroll categories by going for create payroll categories. And one example that I've created is right here. I've given a name for my payroll category. I've given a category code and a type. So the type can be either earning or deduction. Based on the category that you have, you can choose one among them. Let's say it can be earning or it can be reduction, and you can provide a formula for it. So now your category is going to be having a formula or a value. So when you create a new one, let's say I'm going to create a new one, and when I create a new one, I can mention the payroll categories by providing a name. So here you can see the category value, which can be numeric, formula, and the conditions with formula options. So you can choose any one of these, and once I'm choosing formula, I'm going to give a formula here. So that formula can be dependent on the gross. Eventually it should be dependent on the gross in case if it's a basic pay, because gross is the major component of the payroll, and depending on the gross is how the other components are going to function. So I would say you're going to give a formula here for your basic pay, which is dependent on the gross. And once you've done that, you can save it. The same way you're going to create various payroll categories. As you can see, I've created payroll categories, and moving back to the pay slip and payroll management, the next important thing I need to do is payroll groups. So I have created a payroll group here by going for create one, and when I create a payroll group, I'm going to mention the payroll group name, and I'm going to add the payroll categories that I want to add for. So I can add the ones that I think that is convenient and the right one, and I'm going to save this by enabling LOP deduction or not enabling the LOP deduction. And once this is done, we can move back to HR module. You can go to employee management, and here we find the employee admission. So under employee admission, you can make admission for employees using this form. So by default, you can see the employee number, which is automatically incremented based on the concept that I mentioned. You can see the joining date is default as how based on the concept that I've said. So date would be by default today's date, and you can enter the employee name. And once you enter the name, you're going to fill in the other important details. I'm going to select a department. Let's say I'm selecting a department. I'm selecting one of the categories. Let's say teachers category. And for this department and for this category, they're going to be junior and senior teacher. You can choose one of them. And you have the grade. So grade is going to be any one of these that we've already created. So it can be any one of this. I'm going to choose one of the grades. You have the job title, qualification, experience information, and other information about an employee. You need to fill in these and the personal details and contact details and settings, and once you're done this, you can save it. Now you're done with the basic information. Now you can fill in your office and home address details, and moving ahead you find the bank details. So any field that you've created in the setting will be available here. So any fields like about the code, IFSC code, or about the account numbers, these are something that you might need to create. So you're going to create them here because these are not part of any other module. So you're going to fill in the bank details of the student, sorry, employee. And now once you're done with the bank details, you're going to save this and move to the additional details. As I mentioned, just like the student additional fields, the employee also have additional fields, and these are the fields that I create, and this is how the additional field will look like. I'm going to fill in the fields and I'm going to save it. Now once I've saved in the additional detail, the next thing that is there is a privilege for this employee. Based on the role in the institution, you can provide with the privilege. You can choose one of the below, Let's say I'm choosing all of this, or I can either uncheck the ones that I don't want to assign for this employee. And once I've assigned it, I'm going to save them. And this employee is going to have a manager, a reporting manager, which needs to be marked here. So in Fedena's term, you're going to put in a reporting manager for this employee, and you can search for the manager right here. And once you've assigned an manager, you can save and proceed. And now you have the add payroll group. If you remember in the setting, we had created the payroll and payslip categories. Now we also have created the payroll group. So you'll go there and create those and come back here so that you can select one of the payroll group from the drop down. So you can choose one and use this group. And here you're going to mention a value. So let's say I'm mentioning a value and I'm saying calculate. It's going to calculate based on the calculation that we have given. And once this is calculated, let's say I'm giving a value here again. And the calculation is performed. Now you can assign the payroll and you can move back to the next step. So I have assigned the payroll as of now. Here let me enter some value because I have not created a category. Now this employee profile is created. You can have a look at the profile of this employee. You can see other details about this employee here. So this is all about HR employee creation, and under employee management we're done with employee admission. The next thing that we have is employee subject association. Under employee subject association, you're going to assign subjects for the employee. So you need to select a batch. Let's choose the one that you've created. I'm going to choose one of the batches and I'm going to choose a subject. And for each subject, I need to select a department and assign the set of employees. So you need to assign, let's say, English department. You find a list of English department, you can assign employees, which is selecting assign option. So you can assign more than one employee as well. So this way you're going to select all the subjects and assign employee. So this is how employee subject association happens. The next thing is the employee leave management. When you go for employee leave management, the first thing that you find is the attendance register. So under the attendance register, you can mark absence for employee. By default in Fedena, all students and employees are present. Only when they're absent, you're going to mark absence for them. So you need to select a subject. So that means you're selecting a department. The department employees will be listed below. You can have a look at them. And here on today's date, let's assume this employee is on leave. I'm selecting this cell. I'm selecting a leave type. I'm entering a reason and I'm saving. So this is how you're going to mark absence for an employee who's not there in the institution. An employee can apply for leaves and get it approved by his manager, which will be marked here as an absence for the future date. Where employee doesn't apply for a leave, the admin can mark it on that date. Where now as an admin, you can mark absence or apply for their absence for the future dates as well. And once this is done, you can move back to the leave management and we have the attendance report. So under attendance report, we have the report of all the department employees. So you can view their attendance as well. So you can have more idea about it and take a CSV report of it. The next thing is the leave reset. So we can reset the leaves after a point. So this reset happens in two ways. You can make a manual reset and an automatic reset. Now the automatic reset is that you need to enable one of these options. So this option says that you should not reset leaves for employees with non-deducible LOP leaves. So an employee who doesn't have an uh, deducible LOP leaves, for them the reset should not happen. Whereas the other option that says reset can happen even for the employees who have a non-deducible LOP leaves. You can choose one among as how it's there in the institution. And if you're not convenient with the permanent settings that we have, you can reset leaves by yourself, where you're going to select a department, you can search for an employee, or you can select all the employee and reset. This means that reset option is going to work for all the users. Now moving back, we have the leave application, and leave application is a place where each of the employees' leave application has been approved or rejected. So here you can see all the leave application that has been created. You can have a look at these applications and you can save them. So the next thing that we have under human resource is the payslip and payroll management. We are done with the payroll categories and payroll group. Let's go for payslips for payroll groups. So here you can see the payslip for payroll groups where you have the option to choose a monthly mode. So you can choose one and here you get to see the generate payslip option. You can view the payslip and generate a payslip here where let's say I'm going to generate, I'm going to choose a date and I'm going to save and I can generate a payslip. So you can generate a payslip for all the users as well. The next thing that we have is payslip for employees. Now here you allow to see the department wise payslip option. So you can choose all department or select a specific department and for that department you can view the payslip and approve or reject the payslip. The rejected payslip by the finance person can be viewed separately by the human resource person right here. So as per the payslip generation process, once the HR person generates a payslip, the finance person approves or rejects the payslip. And here the rejected payslip can be viewed, sorted out and can be analyzed. You have the payslip settings which allows you to define what are the fields that you want in the payslip. For my institution, I can choose the one that I want in the payslip. The other details can be unchecked and you can save the changes where you can also view a sample of this. Then it goes to payslip report. You can have an idea about the number of payslip that has been generated and the number of payslip that has been accepted or rejected. So on which date has it been generated? So you can go for these kinds of report by selecting a department from a from date to date. You're going to choose it a custom dates and you're going to view. So that's all about payroll and payslip management. By going for employee search, you can have an advanced view of the profile of various department employees. So you have the option to view various employees by using this option. So that's all about human resource module. The next thing that we have is student admission. So you can make admissions for students by going for quick links and you have the student admission. And under student admission, as you can see, the admission number is generated. This admission number is by default created by Fedena. It's going to be an auto incrementation process and it's created. And the admission number along with the admission date is as per today's date. You can see the personal details field where you're going to fill in the name of the student. And once you've filled in the first name, you're going to fill in the other names. Let's say middle name and last name. In case if not, you can skip them. You have the date of birth, gender, and just like the employee, you can select one of the categories here. So I can choose one of the categories here. And I can assign the student to a particular class. Let me assign the one that I've created. I'm selecting a batch and I'm going to save this. Now the first step is completed. Now in case if the student's sibling is available in the institution, you can search for a profile and add it. else you can skip this step. The next thing is the personal detail. In case if you have attached a sibling, you would have separatedly done these steps. These are automatically done, so you need not to follow this process. You can take few breaks like these would not be there for you since the parent profile is already updated with better information. So here else you will have to fill in these fields and save. And the next thing that we have is previous education details, and here you can fill in the details of the previous education. So I'm going to save this and move forward to the additional details. As you can see in the additional details, there are various fields that I have already created here. So these fields something similar to the parent or the student admission details. So I've created few fields. So you can see this fields that I've already created, and those fields are available here. All that I need to do is choose an answer for it because it's a mandatory field. I need to fill in this field, and at the same time I can fill in the other fields and I can save them. So as many fields that is there in the settings or as many fields that I've created in the setting, I'll be able to see it here with the respective input method that I have created. And here you get to see the profile of the student, and you can see other information about the student right here. So that's all about student admission in Fedena. Now we have the next module that talks about the timetable. We can go for the timetable module by going for academics, timetable module, and the first thing that you find is manage class timing sets. So under manage class timing set, I'm going to create various class timings and I'm going to assign this class timing set for my timetable. So class timing set is a definition of when does the class start and how does it work. So as you can see one example, the default one that is there, where I have given the name as period 1 to 4, and each of these periods have a start time and end time. And I can also create breaks and lunch breaks which can be given as a break period here. So it can be skipped from the timetable as well. So that is how I'm going to create the class timing set. So as you can see, I've created a class timing set with a name period 1 with a start time and an end time, and a period 2 with a start time and an end time, and a break. So when I'm creating a break, I'm giving a start time and end time, I'm going to mark it as a break and save. For the other subjects, I have not marked it as a break. I'm going to save it. So this way I'm creating a class timing set. You can have multiple class timing set in case if your timetable has different timings and patterns for different set of employees and the different set of students. So you can, let's say one part of the institution has a different timetable, where the other part of institution has a different timetable. You can have more than one timing set and assign this timing set here. So in the assign timing set, you need to go for set weekdays and class timing set. Select the batch and select it here, where now you need to assign the weekdays. And in case if you're working on a Saturday, you can enable the Saturdays here and you'll be selecting one of the class timing sets. And once you have assigned, you can save these. And once this is completed, let's go for manage timetable. Under manage timetable, you're going to create a timetable for a specific date. So you need to make sure the timetable is not having any clash. So you can see the existing timetable is 13th of April. So you need to create a timetable that doesn't have a clash. And you should also make sure there is no repetition of any timings, and Fedena will not allow you to create such timetables. Go for create, we're going to mention the start time and end date. So start date and end date for the timetable. And once you mention the start date and end date, your timetable schedule will be created where we need to allocate the timetable. So I can go for timetable allocation, and here you can find different kinds of status. The status that represents allocation status as not eligible, not allocated, and so these are the different kinds of status that gets displayed. Looking at one of the scenarios, the not eligible ones are because there is no subject or elective groups, whereas not allocated is because there is no allocation that has yet happened. And there are other status that also represents that the employee is not available to make an allocation here. So the subject employee is not available. Now we can come back. So this is how timetable allocation happens. So I'm going to choose a batch. I can manage allocation. So here you can see from Monday to Friday, I've assigned a different class timing set. On Saturday, I've assigned a different class timing set. So in a virtual pattern, you can already see how your timetable will look like, and you've already assigned as how it's there in the institution. Now to assign subjects, you need to select the cell. You need to select a subject. Here you can see different employees who belong to the subject. So I'm going to assign one of the employees and I'm going to save it. So as you can see, this is how the warning message pops up. In case if there is already an allocation that is happening for the same employee in the same time duration, a warning message pops up, and when an employee gets to see this, they can continue or cancel it. So now let me select a different employee. I've assigned a different employee the same way you can see here as how I've mentioned in the start time, end time, start time, end time is all happening, and I can also find Saturday workings. Going back to timetable, so here is where we made the allocation. Now moving back to the timetable, we can have a look at our timetable by going to view timetable. You can select one of the timetables, you can select a batch for which you've created a timetable and you can view them. So let's say this is how the timetable will look like, and you can go for teacher's timetable and view the teacher's timetable for this timetable duration. So I'm going to choose one of the timetable durations, and here you can see the different kinds of timetable that is being created here. So you can see each of these employees and the respective classes, the time in which they need to go for the classes, and you can take a PDF or a CSV report. Now moving back to the timetable module, the next thing that we have is work allotment. Under work allotment, we have the option to make allocations for each of the subjects in the class. So here again, you find employee subject association status. In case if you have not done the employee subject association status in the HR module, you will find a status say completely associated, not associated, partially associated, or no subject. So any one of these gets appeared here, you can go ahead and check the scenario in other module, making sure that this option is done. Say in case if I have not created or allocated an employee, I can go ahead and do it. That would allow my work allotment to function. The next thing is the institution timetable. Institution timetable gives the overall timetable of all the batches, where you get to see the class and the subject and the employee as well. The next thing is the timetable tracker. Under timetable tracker, we have an option of swapping the timetable. So in, let's say an employee is on leave, on an emergency, so you want to assign a different employee for the same period or for a different subject. So we have the option, and it allows you to swap timetable. I can go for swap timetable. I can select a batch. I can select a batch, I can select a date, and let's say so let me choose a batch right now. For the timetable that I've created, I will be able to see the current date. So in a date, in case if there is any timetable, you get to see the options here. So now once I select the particular timetable here on the current date and I realize that an employee is on leave, I can swap the timetable for different employee. I can assign a different employee in that time duration. So as you can see here, let me just show an example by taking a timetable. So now let me manage timetable for that batch. Now I'm going to make some allocations. Select a subject. So it's beyond the allocation that can be done. So now I've assigned few subjects. Going back to swapping, I can select a date. And for a batch, let's say, now you get to see a class here because the timetable has been assigned for this class, and now two employees have been assigned. Let's say both employees on leave. I can change or replace this employee only for this date, not for the timetable permanently. I can change it only for this date by selecting a different department here. So let's say I'm selecting one of the departments, and now I can out of the department employees, I'm going to choose one of them, and once I've assigned, I can assign the same subject or a completely different subject and save it. Now this is how swapping happens. I've swapped an employee, and next thing that I can do is swap timetable report, where I can check the swapping that has happened in a time duration. So for a custom time, I get to see the details about it, and on viewing the details, you know which employee is being replaced by the other employee and how long have they been replaced for. So this is how it looks like. And once you have a look at it, you can take an export file as a CSV report. The next thing that we have is classroom allocations, and classroom allocations allows you to manage buildings as a first step. So we go for manage buildings and add buildings by going for add buildings, where you're going to mention the name of the building. And once you've done that, you're going to create rooms under the buildings. You can go for add rooms, give a name for your room, and give a capacity. So now you get to know the name and the capacity, and once you've created, you can assign these rooms by going for allocate, where you can make a weekly allocation. That means, as you can see in this timetable duration, if you're going to make a weekly allocation, that's going to be from Monday to Friday, for example. Every Monday in this timetable duration, the class is going to happen as how it's marked here. So I'm going to select one of the tower. I'm going to select the class and drag and drop it here. So maths subject for G11 will happen on all Mondays on block B, door number 01. So this is how classroom allocations can work. So you can make sure classroom allocation is followed by continuously having the changes happening here. So now the classroom allocation is done. The new option that is there is manage subjects, and manage subjects allow you to create and handle subjects just that is there in these settings. So whatever you find in the settings, you can do it here as well. All that you need to do is select a class, a batch, and you can manage your subjects. So this is all about the timetable module. The next module that we have is attendance. You can find your attendance module under academics. So we can go for attendance, and attendance takes you through the attendance register. So under attendance register, you choose the batch that you want to mark attendance for. I choose the batch, and I get to see the attendance register here. I get to see the whole list of students, and I get to see the weekends displayed here, the weekdays, and today's date being marked separately. Now I can select a particular cell. I can enter a reason. So let's say I'm marking absence for students. So I'm going to enter a reason. I'm going to add. As I've already mentioned, by default, all students are present in Fedena. Only when they're absent, you're going to mark absence for them. And that's exactly what I've done now. Now I can also make it more simple. Instead of entering the reason and selecting the forenoon afternoon, if I don't want to select and enter these steps, I can just click and mark absence. By enabling this rapid attendance option, I can select the cell and mark absence for a student. Fedena allows you to mark absence on the current date and for previous set of days as well. As you can see, I can mark absence for the previous days. I can go to the previous month and mark absence for them. Because this option is available for the employees who don't want to mark absence on the current date, but they want to go to the class, take attendance and come back and mark attendance in the register. So this can also be done. That's the reason we provide you the option even for a month's time. So you can do this in the attendance register. And the next thing that we have is an attendance report. Attendance report gives you a detailed report for a monthly, overall and a custom date. So when I go for monthly report, I get to see the report on a monthly basis. Let's say 2016 March, I get to see the report. And I can also go for an overall report that will give you the overall calculation from the time the course was conducted. When I go for custom duration, I can give a custom duration, a start date and an end date, and I get to view the attendance percentage in the time duration. The last one that we have under attendance is day-wise attendance report. This attendance report provides you a report for the particular date. So as you can see, the default date is today's date, and I can switch between any dates, or I can also filter it on the basis of class. I can choose a particular class or a course. Here you can see all the courses, and for each of the courses and classes you see the number of attendees on the current date. You can see the different batches. In case if you want to view any of them, you want to know who is the attendees for today's date, I can select the batch, view the batch and see the list of students. So let's say I'm going to view this batch. I can see the list of students here. There are no attendees. So I can see the absentees are 0. So I'm going to get back to the attendance module. This is how you can mark attendance and manage attendance in Fedena. The next thing that we have is examination module. You can go for the examination module under academics. So under examination, the first thing that we're going to do is the settings. So under the settings, we have various settings that we are going to do. Let's begin with the set grading levels. So under set grading levels, you're going to choose one of the batches. In the drop down, I'm going to select a common option and create various grading levels here. So I'm going to choose common and I'm going to add grade, and I'm going to list different grades that is there here. So let's say in my institution, for the normal examination that I'm conducting, I have a grading pattern and I'm going to define that here. This is going to be common for all the batch. So I'm going to list it here by going for a name of the grade, a percentage, a credit point, and save them. So now this is how I'm going to mention the various grading levels. Moving back to the next setting that we have is ranking levels. I can select one of the class, for example, let's say I'm choosing this class, and I can create a ranking level just like how I've created. Let's say I'm giving a ranking level name as high performer. It's the name that I want to give for a student who have secured high score. So I'm going to give the conditions below. So these conditions can be utilized to use this ranking level pattern for generating reports. So I can create ranking level on the name of the high performer, whereas I'm giving certain criteria. These criteria needs to be considered. Let's say high performer students have to secure more than 90%. So I'm giving the percentage marks to be 90, whereas the mark limit type here would be something from the drop down. So as you can see, the drop down option has 3 of this: upper, lower and exact. I can choose one among them. Let's say the mark limit type is going to be lower. That means at least. and upper, that means at most, and exact. So these are the different kinds of limit types that it has. And now for my condition, I want to use at least 90 percentage. That would be more appropriate. And the next one that we have is the number of subjects. And when I go for number of subjects, then I mean to say I want to create one more criteria as a subject. And I'm saying the 2 subjects or 5 subjects as a criteria. And again, at least, at most, and exact are the different limit types. And I can choose one of the limit type and I can save it. So the same way I can create one more ranking level. And the final one is a class designation. And you can have designations for each of these classes. You can select one of the class and give a name and a mark for your designation. Once the students have secured scores, you can compare it with these designations and provide them a particular designation in a class. So these are the different kinds of designation that can be there, which let's say first class as a percentage mark and second class as a percentage mark, and a pass percentage also has a percentage mark. So that's all about these settings, exam settings that we have. Let's go for exam management, and under exam management you're going to choose a class here. So from the drop down I'm going to choose a class. And once I've chosen a class, I can create exam group. Let's say now I'm going to create an exam. I can create exam for the first time for both of these batches or any one of these batches. So I have an option where I can choose which batch do I want to go for. If I want to create exam for both the batches together, I can select both the batches names here. So as you can see the names, I'm going to select both. I'm going to give a name for my exam. And once I've given a name, I'm going to select a mark type. I can either make it as grade or marks and grades. And I'm going to create the exam group. Once the exam groups are created, inside each of these exam group, I can create exams by going for manage exams. And here I can add an exam for each of the subject where I'm going to give a common, maximum and a minimum mark, or you can make individual maximum and minimum marks. But I'm going to schedule the examination, so let me schedule the examination with a start date and an end date, start and end timings, and the same I'm doing for the other dates as well. And once I've done this, I can create exam. In case again while creating examination you find a particular subject doesn't need examination, you can directly mark as no exam from here. So that would once again skip Fedena from creating examination for subject that doesn't need an examination. So I can go ahead and create it now. Now the exam is created. Once the exam is created, the first thing that should be done is to publish the schedule. So you can go for publish exam schedule, and schedule will be published right now. So that means an automatic SMS to be triggered and the notification sent to all the users. In case if you want to resend the SMS, you can once again resend the notification. Now the next thing that we assume is, let's say the examination is conducted, the scores are evaluated. Now you can enter the scores for each of the subject. You can select the subject. Let's say there's a student in the class and I'm going to enter the score for the student. So here I'm entering the score. I can also enter a remark if required and save. Once I save it, based on this grade that is provided in the grading system, the score is being taken down as a grade here. So this is how the scores can be updated. Now I'm going for one more subject and I'm going to save it. Now you can also add remarks to this. So now the scores have been entered. The next thing would be to publish the exam results. I'm going to publish the exam result. Now the exam result is published. So the exam is completed. The next thing would be to generate a report. So you can generate a report by selecting a class here. So let me choose a class for which I'm going to generate a report. So here you can choose a class and you can generate a report. So this is going to be a scheduled job, whereas it's on queue and it takes some time for the scheduled job to be completed. I'm going to refresh it for now. Once it moves out of queue, you can have a look at the report. So moving back to the examination module, let me show you the different types of reports. So once it moves out of the queue, you can come back to report center. You can select the different kinds of report and have a look at them. Each of these reports are a part of examination module, and for a normal examination, each of these reports are going to work. The first exam wise report allows you to view the report for each of the examinations. You can choose a batch here. Just an example, let's say I'm going to select a batch here. I'm going to choose it from the drop down that I have. And once I choose, I get to see the exam that they have, the list of examinations that they have. So I get to see the examinations here. Let me choose one of the batches. And so here you can see both the examinations. So I get to see one, or let's say I'm choosing one of this and I'm going to view. So depends on the score that is entered for each of the student. You can see the list of students. Selecting on one of the student, I can see the score here. I can see each subject maximum score and the respective score for the student with the percentage conversion. You can see a class average and a class average mark as well. So below you get to see the comparison, a graphical comparison of the respective student and the class average. You can take a PDF report of this or add a remark right there. Moving back to the report center, we have an option called subject-wise report, which will show a report for the subject that we choose. So for all the subject that is there, you're going to choose one of the subject and you can view a subject-wise report for, let's say there are two subjects and I choose one subject and view it, and I can enter the scores. See, I can see the score that the student has secured here. I can take a report of this and share it across with my users. So the other kinds of report that we have, a grouped exam report. So this option is going to work in case I have 2 or 3 examinations and I want to give weightage for each of these examinations. I'm going to connect them by giving a percentage. The other kinds of report that is there are the archived student report. Any students who have left the institution and the list can be viewed here. And the ranking level reports for subject, batch, class and school can be verified from here. And you can also have attendance ranking report. So these are the different kinds of report that allows you to view the details of the scores that they've secured. Now one example that I can show you. So here you can see I have taken one exam and this has a 100% weightage. So the total is the same. In case if I have one more exam having 50% of weightage, each of the scores will be taken down to calculate a final score. So this is how the grouped exam report works. So that's all about examination module. And the next module that we're going to see is finance module. You can find the finance module under administration. Under the finance module, the first thing that you're going to see is the fees. Under the fees, you have the option to create fee. So you can go for create fees option. And when you're creating a fee, that's going to mean that you're going to create a master category. And under the master category, you're going to list the particulars, discount, and you're going to generate a fine. So the first thing is the master category, and you're going to give a name for your master category. Let's say I'm giving a name. Once I've given a name, I can select the batch. It will show all the batches that is there in the institution and I can select one of them. And once I select the batch, I can add particulars for this master category. I can go for particulars where I can add a particular I can select a category. So this category will be the one that I created some time back, which is called the master category. Under the master category, I'm going to have various particulars which are nothing but the components of the fee structure. Again, for the batches that I have assigned, I can select few or all the batches, where again for this master category and for this particular, I can go ahead and have few of all the students to have the particular, or few of them by mentioning the admission number and the amount mentioned here. So let's say I'm choosing it for all the students. I can enter amount here. I'm saying 5,000 rupees to be the admission fee, and I'm going to create it. Now this is how you're going to create a particular. So in creating a particular, you can same way create one more particular now. And select a category, the same category, select all the batches, enter the amount here and create. Now you have created two particulars. These particulars belong to the master category that I have created. And in this master category, you have to create discounts. Then you can create discounts as well. So while creating a discount, you can select the discount type. The various discount types that Fedena supports: batch-wise discounts, student category-wise discount, and student discount. So let's say I'm choosing a batch-wise discount. I can give a discount name here, and I can select the fee category that I want to give a discount on. And again, the discount can be applied on the batches of this category or particulars of this category. So I have more option to choose among these. And then again, you get to see the options where, let's say now I'm choosing all, and then here you get to see is a mode of discount. It can be a percentage mode or it can be an amount as well. So here you get to see the percentage and amount, where I'm choosing one of them. Let's say I'm choosing percentage. That means I can enter value, which means 20% of the amount can be given as a discount. Or I can make an amount here, which means out of the total amount, 2000 would be a discount. And I can create them. So this is how fees discounts are going to be created. So now for the category, for all the particulars, this amount is going to be acting as a discount. The next thing is the generate fine option. Under the generate fine, you can generate a fine option for this whole category. So here you're going to choose a fine that is already created or create a new fine. On selecting a fine, the days after due date is something that I mentioned here as 1, let's say. And for this day, 1 day after the due date, there's going to be amount that I'm entering here. It can be in terms of percentage, it can be in terms of amount as well. So now if I'm making in terms of percentage, I'm going to enter an amount here, or let's say an amount once again. The same thing can be done by adding fine slabs. That means I can have different amount as a fine amount for different dates, and I can save them. So this is how different types of working can be done on a fee structure. On a master category, you can create particulars, you can create discounts, you can create fines. And now once the category is created, the next step would be to schedule the fee collection. So you can go for schedule fee collection, and here in the schedule fee collection, you're going to collect the fee collection by going for this option. You're going to select the fee collection. You see all the batches that is there. Now you give a name for the fee collection that is going to be viewed by all the users. Select one of the fine, give a start date and an end date for the collection, and schedule it. Now this is when all the users will be notified regarding the fee collection, and all the users will be getting a notification, and only then they get to know about the fee collection. Now I will go back. Since it takes some time for the schedule connection to happen, let me explain the other factors. Inside the schedule fee collection dates, the next thing that we have is view. Under view, you get to choose a batch. So here, let me choose a batch. And out of this fee collection, I'm going to choose one of the fee collection and view how how does the fee collection work? When was it scheduled? What are the particulars? And what is the amount? Does it have any categories? So these are the details that can be seen. So here you don't get to pay it. It's just that you can view the fee collection. And the final thing that we have is manage fee collections that allows you to select a batch, a fee collection, and allows you to make some changes. So in case if you want, you can make some changes, disable some collections, so disable some discounts for a particular student or a particular batch, you can do that. So this is how the scheduled fee collection dates happen. And once you've scheduled and once they are moved out of queue, you can collect the fee from collect the fees option. So under collect the fees option, you have the option to allow all of your users to collect the fee. So you can go for fee submission by batches. When you go for fee submission by batches, you select one from the drop down. So let's say you're choosing a batch. That means a student from this batch comes along to you and says that they want to pay a fee. So you select the batch, you select one of the fee collection for them. Out of all the collection that they have already created, you're going to choose one. And now you find the list of students in the drop down. You select one of the student, you need to pay the fee for them. So as you can see here, I have not paid the fee for him. So I'm going to go for pay fee option. Now before I pay the fee, I have the option to enter the details about my collection. What kind of collection is that? Is it a cash on payment? Is it a credit card? Or if it's a DD, what is the DD number? What is the check number? So these kinds of details can be given in. So on selecting a student, let's say here you can see the payment mode. I'm choosing the payment mode and it depends on it, I can enter the detail here. So if I'm choosing check, the check number can be given. You can also add a payment note along with it. You can print a symphony. So once you pay the fee, you can take a receipt of this and share it across with your users. So this is how your receipt would look like. So you get to see the total fee, you get to see the discount and the fine amount, and once again the total amount that you have to pay. So this is how it looks like. And moving back to the collect the fee option, you have the fee submission for each student. So for each student, that means there you had to select the batch. Now you have to select the admission number, so or by searching with the admission name. So I'm going to search for a student here. On selecting the name of the student, I can select a collection. So here I'm going to select a collection, which would allow me to select a collection from the drop down. So as you can see, I can select one of the collection from the drop down, and now I can see the payment that needs to be done. And I can pay the fee. So the next one that we have is pay all. So or you can also go for the option to pay all the fee by going for this option. Now I can go back and I have one more option, which is particular wise fee payment. So here under this particular wise, I can choose for a student. Let's say I'm searching for a student, and I get to see the profile. Here I choose a collection, and for this collection I can go ahead and make a partial payment. So as you can see, okay, let me search for a different student who has not paid the fee at all. So here you can search for the student, select a collection, and here you get to see there's a discount amount which is 2000, and the discount is not yet applied. So first thing when it comes to particular wise fee payment is that you need to apply the discount. That would be the mandatory step. So on applying the discount, you get to see some information. So here on applying the discount, I can add a discount here. So the discount amount is rupees 2000. So let's say I'm adding the discount here. So I'm giving the discount and I'm saying I'm going to apply the discount completely. So on applying the discount, you get to see the applied discount becomes 2000 rupees. And then here you get to see the amount that needs to be paid out of this 5,000. So now out of this 5,000, let's say I want to pay 5,000 and 2,000 discount is already taken. That means I can only pay 3,000. So this is how discount is applied and the amount that needs to be paid can be marked. And you can pay the fee. And now you can take a receipt and once again share it across with the users where you get to see the amount that needs to be paid and the amount that is left out to be paid. So this is how it looks like. The next thing that we have is the fee structure where you get to see the structure of the fee collection. So where you search for a student name. So let's say I'm searching for a student name, and once I search for a name, I can view the fee collection that is related to the student. And I get to select one of the collection and I get to see how much they need to pay for. So these details can be seen here. And moving back to the fees, we have the fee defaulters option where we get to see the list of students who have not paid the fee. I select a class, I select a batch, and I select one of the collections and I get to see the list of students who have not paid the fee. So I can take a print receipt there and share it across with the institution. So again, the last one that we have is a fee refund. This fee refund happens that it is related to the collection. So once when a collection is being made, the refund happens, and in that refund you are dependent on the collection that has happened. So a refund rule can be created on a collection, and the refund can happen only if the collection is completely been made. So I'm going to create a refund rule for which I'm selecting one of the fee collection that is existing. I can give a name for my refund and I can give the refund to happen in a percentage or I can make it to an amount. So let's say I'm giving it in terms of percentage. It can be 20% of the refund or it can be in terms of amount which is 2,000 and you can create a refund. So now this is the refund rule that needs to be created, and once the refund rule is created you can apply the refund by going for apply refund. So as I said earlier, refund rule gets applied only when the refund the total fee payment is completed. So I'm going to search for a student who has made the complete refund and I find the name here. I select one of the collection and I can make a refund. Right. So let me search for a different student. So here I'm going to choose one of the refund and here I'm going to refund the amount. So like this I can refund the amount that is created as a refund rule. So this is how refund happens. And the next thing that we have is a type of a report which is a student fees advice report. Under student fees advice report, there are various options that we have is batch wise report, fee collection wise report and student wise report. The batch wise report allows you to view the report for particular class. Let's say I'm choosing this class. I can view the collection for this class only. So this is how I can filter and view the collection details for a particular class or a batch. And I can take a CSV report of it. The next thing that we have is based on the collection. Now you choose a collection, you choose a batch, you choose a collection that is dependent on the batch. So now that would allow you to see if there is any collection dependent and how much as the collection been happened. So you can see how many students need to pay and how much they need to pay. You can see the discount, you can see the particulars. Now the next thing that we have is student-wise report. The student-wise report allows you to search for a student to view their report. So let me search for a student, and here on selecting the student I get to see the unpaid fees and the paid fees. I get to see the total amount they need to pay for and the PDF and the CSV report option. So this is how the finance report part works. Now moving back to the finance fee module, the last option that we have under fees is the fees receipt setting. So we are going to generate receipt under all the finance option and in every fees that is being collected. So these receipts can be customized again as per your convenience. The receipt type can be normal, dot matrix or thermal. You can choose one among these and you have an option to select the print size, sheet size as well. It can be A4 or it can be A5 landscape or A5 portrait. And on selecting these you can also see the other information here, and here you get to see the settings about the headers. It can auto generate an header or customize header as well. The customized header allows you to mention the size you want for your headers, and you can have a look at the sample settings and save the settings. So moving back to the finance module, we are done with the fees part. Let's go to the next one, that is the finance part. Where under the finance module, the first part that is there is the finance report. Let's have a look at the common finance report, and on looking at the finance report, let's see the different components of the report. Going for the transaction report, let's say the last 6 months transaction. On looking at the last 6 months transaction, we have the income and expense, and we have various categories under our income and expense, and we can see the total amount here. So this is how each of your expenses and income can be seen, and on selecting the category you get to see the detail about the expense and income that is being made. So now looking at the categories of income and expense, we know that there is a fee collection that is an income and a salary that is being uh, credited, that is an expense. So here these expense and income are a part that is already seen from the finance and the HR module, where the other categories like pantry, goods, refund, uniforms and lunch is something that are not part of any of these modules. So where does these come from? So now that would be the question. So for going back to the finance module, you can go to the category and you see these are the inbuilt categories that is there in Fedena. So Fedena provides you with few inbuilt categories where the finance transactions can be automatically traced down, which is like a fees, which is like a salary, which is in the library or inventory or hostel, whereas anything beyond this can be seen as a separate finance category by going for create finance category. So on creating a new finance category, you get to give a category name, a description, and you can mark it as an income or an expense. So this way I have created few other categories because these categories are something that I'll be adding expenses and income post my transactions. So here I'm coming back to the transaction. I'm adding expense and income here. So any expense that I make, I'm going to add an as an expense by going for add expense. And here I'm going to give a title for my expense. Let's say my title is going to be food. And I'm going to select one of the category that I've already created. I'm going to enter amount and save the expense. Now my expense that I've saved can be viewed under expense. We can check for the date. Today's date, this is the expense that I've made. And you can see the voucher number as well. The same way an income can be tracked down if you're adding an income right here. You give a title, add an amount, put it in a category. So this category is something that I've created under the add category option, and you get to see the list of categories. So this is how you can add expense and income under a particular category. So this is how you're going to add transactions, and once these transactions are added, you can also add donations by going for donations option. So under the donations options, you get to add donation by going for new donation. So here you get to add the donor's name. I'm adding the donor's name. and I can add the amount that this donor wanted to pay, and on adding the amount I'm going to add the donor detail and amount. Now the donor gets a receipt for the donation that has happened here. So now again moving back to this donations option, you get to see the donation that has happened on today's date. On selecting today's date or any custom duration, you get to see the donations in the time duration. You can take a CSV report of this donation and share it across with your finance department. So the next thing that you have is employee payslip management. Any payslip that has been generated in the human resource module can be accepted or rejected by the finance person. So the finance person who is in charge of handling the payslips will be having an access for this. And the person gets to view the payslips through these options. So the approve payslip option allows the person to view the payslip that has been generated for a month. So here you can see the month. On selecting the month, you get to view the payslip. And here you get to view the payslip. Since here this payslip is being approved, you can view the payslip and approve or reject it. So as this payslip is already approved, you cannot reject it right now. And moving back to the particular month, let's say we have a different set of payslip that has been generated and it's not approved. You get to choose the month and view the payslip that is yet to be approved or rejected. And directly from here, a person gets to approve or reject the payslip. And in case if the person wants to approve the reject payslip using the payroll group, you can come here, select the payroll group, view the payslip. You can see the payslip that is being created. You can have a look at the payslip and you can view the payslip details right here, take a receipt of it. And the third option that we have is payslip for employees. It's going to be specific in terms of department. You can select a department or you can have all the department and view the payslip right here. You can view the payslip or take a report of the payslip. You can be more specific by searching for an employee payslip. You can also view the rejected employee payslip by going for this option. So where the finance person himself gets to know which all employee payslip was rejected to keep a track of it. Now going to the next one that we have is payroll groups. So under each of the payroll groups there are going to be a set of employees that you can view it here and you can add employees by going for this option. So now moving back to the payslip report that allows you to see the report of employees whose payslip has been generated in a time duration. So here choosing a department, you can choose a from date and a to date. That means employees whose payslip has been created in the time duration, you can view them here. So under the employee payslip management, you had all these options which was checked. And the next thing that we have is finance report. We already viewed the transaction report. Let's go to the compare transaction. Under compare transactions, you can compare transactions for two different durations. So here you can select a time duration. Let's say I'm choosing duration and I'm choosing 2015 from the till the current date. So now I'm going to compare the transaction that has happened in my institution for two different dates or two different durations. So now you see the different transaction report that it shows. It shows for two different durations, shows the income, it shows the expense, and it also shows the grand total. You get to see a CSV report of it, and a graphical representation shows a better picture about the transaction that has happened in two different durations. So now you get to see this transaction. Moving back to the finance report, the last thing that we have is fee receipt. So under the fee receipt, you can generate the fee receipt that is already being created. So the generated fee receipt can be printed out now by going for any of this option, where you can search for the receipt with the receipt number if you know, or if you can search it through any of these options and view the receipt number. So now by going back to the finance module, the last one that we have is assets and liability management. Under assets and liability management, the assets that we have allows you to add the asset to the Fedena instance. So this is not going to be tracked down to your database, whereas let's say these transactions are not going to be added to the finance transaction. So these assets and liability are going to not be added to the finance transaction, but they're going to be acting as a database, and they're going to add and be present when you view the assets. So I'm going to create an asset by giving a title and an amount, and the assets can be viewed here. The same thing can be done for liabilities. So this is how you can view your assets and liabilities. And the next thing that we have is calendar and events. You can view your calendar by academics, and going for the calendar, you get to see the calendar for the current month. And the today's date is being highlighted. On each of these events, when you hover the mouse to the event, you get to see a detailed description about the event. And here you get to see that each of the event represents an information, and here you can see the events have different colors representing, let's say black color represents events, and blue color represents examination, green color represents holiday, and red color represents due. So this is how each of these events can be identified. And you can move to the previous set of month and view the events that is coming up, or the upcoming months to view the details about the upcoming events. Let's say I want to create an holiday. So, or I want to create an event. I can directly do it from here. I can create an event by selecting the day, provide a title. Let's say there is a holiday. There's a festival holiday that I want to give. So I'm giving a festival holiday. And once I give the festival holiday as a description, I can make it as a holiday. I can either make it as for all the users or be specific and create the event and give it for specific set of users. Let's say students in a particular batch, or I can make it only for employees in a particular department. And I can confirm this as well. This is how an holiday can be marked. So here you can see holiday and the description about the holiday. So if you're not doing it here, you can go back to the event creation, and here also you can create an event. So this is how an event and a calendar can be managed directly. Let's go for the reports, which is the last module that we have for today's session. Under data and reports, we have the reports. And under reports, you get to see these options here, where you see the number of classes that is there in the institution, the batches that is there in the institution, the students and employees. When you go for the classes, you get to see the list of classes that is there in the institution. Let's say courses or classes, you get to see the list. You get to see the batches they belong to, number of batches, the number of students, the number of male and female students in each of the classes can be seen. And you can take a CSV report of the list of the classes that is happening here. And moving back to the report, I can go for the batches. Again, it shows the list of batches along with the number of students in each of the batch. To have more information, I can select the name of the batch, and I get to see the list of students under each of these batches. The next thing is the number of students. So on selecting the students, I get to see the list of students, and I get to see all the students that is there in my institution, and I get complete detail about the students. And on selecting each of the student, I get to see the profile of that student directly. The last one is the employees, where the employees can be seen along with the department position and the manager of these employees. You get some information about them directly from here, or you can select the profile and view the profile directly. And you have other kinds of report that gives you more information, let's say class and batch details, whereas under class and batch details you get to see the same information like the list of batches and the list of classes. The former student details shows you a detailed description about the students who have left the institution in the time duration. Let's say you're going to search for a time duration. You see all the students who have left the institution. You can take a report of it or view their profiles. That is just a profile and about the past history about the data. So this is all about former student detail. The next thing is the former employee detail. And again, former employee detail gives you a better idea about the employees who's left the institution. And the next one that we have is subject details. Under subject details, you get a detailed information about the list of subjects for all the classes or for a particular class. You can filter it and view it for a particular class and view the details. And moving back, you have the employee subject association details that is assigned for a particular subject. So in the class, all the subjects and employees been assigned. This detail can be viewed here. An overall look can be given from here, which will tell you which employee has been assigned for how many classes and which other classes are these and how many subjects do they handle. So these can be viewed here and you can take a report of these from here. The next thing is the employee payroll details. Each employee's payroll detail can be viewed. As of now, it gives you an overall view where all department employees are being listed here and you can see each employee name and their respective payroll details. You get to see a detailed information about this and you also get to take a CSV report from here where you can filter for specific department as well. The next thing that you have is exam schedule. So exam schedule detail provides you with a report of the details of the exam that is conducted and yet to be conducted. Something that has been scheduled and it's yet to happen. All these informations can be seen from here. The next thing is the fee collection detail. So these informations are related to the finance module and we have already had a look at these. So you can see the fee defaulters, you can see the fee collection details, the student fee advice report and a uh, student fee defaulters detail. So these are different kinds of report that we have checked in the finance module. So that's all about the module that we have planned for today's session. So as you can see, we're done with all the modules.